The stadium is silent long before the medal ceremony begins. Thousands of Argentine supporters remain frozen in their seats, unable to look away as another nation prepares to lift the FIFA World Cup. Blue and white flags hang motionless over the railings. Some fans wipe away tears. Others simply stare into the distance, searching for an explanation that football rarely provides. Near the centre circle, Lionel Messi stands alone. The noise around him slowly fades into the background as the golden trophy is carried across the pitch. Cameras flash from every direction, but he barely notices. His eyes remain fixed on the one prize that had once completed his story, yet now feels farther away than ever before. For a brief moment, time seems to stop. The world expects disappointment. Instead, something else appears on his face: determination. Hours later, while celebrations continue deep into the night, Messi quietly leaves the stadium. No interviews, no dramatic speeches, no promises. Just a slow walk through a narrow corridor lined with photographers whose questions remain unanswered. The headlines arrive before sunrise. Messi's final World Cup ends in heartbreak. The greatest career finally closes. Time defeats even legends. Across television studios, former players begin discussing retirement. Pundits speak with certainty, explaining that football always belongs to the next generation. Social media fills with emotional tributes, celebrating everything Messi has already achieved. To millions of people, the story is over. But inside a quiet house on the outskirts of Buenos Aires, another story is only beginning. For 3 days, Messi disappears completely. There are no public appearances, no training videos, no carefully staged photographs. Even the journalists who have followed every chapter of his career lose track of him. Rumors spread across the internet. Some claim he has already decided to retire. Others believe he simply needs time to accept that the greatest journey of his life has finally reached its end. None of them know the truth. On the 4th morning, before sunrise, a single light switches on inside a private training facility. Messi walks onto the empty pitch carrying nothing but a football. No cameras, no sponsors, no audience, only silence. He places the ball on the grass and stands perfectly still for several seconds, looking across the field that will soon become his entire world. Then he whispers something almost impossible to hear. One last time. Imagine for a moment that someone offered Lionel Messi one impossible opportunity. Not another contract, not another Ballon d'Or, just one final mission. 180 days to prepare for one last World Cup. No excuses, no second chances. Every decision from this moment forward must serve one purpose alone: win. The first thing disappears is comfort. Late nights vanish overnight. Public appearances become rare. Commercial obligations are reduced to the absolute minimum. Every hour of every day suddenly belongs to recovery, preparation, or learning. Because at 39, talent alone is no longer enough. The greatest challenge is no longer his opponents, it is time itself. Messi begins by rebuilding the foundation most people never think about: sleep. Sports scientists often describe sleep as the most powerful recovery tool available to any athlete. Muscles repair themselves. Hormones responsible for recovery reach their highest levels. The brain organizes memories, strengthens motor patterns, and improves decision-making for the following day. Instead of treating sleep as rest, Messi treats it as training. Every evening follows the same routine. Lights dim at exactly the same hour. Screens disappear long before bedtime. Room temperature is carefully controlled. Even small disruptions become unacceptable, because every percentage point matters when competing against players more than a decade younger. Within weeks, his recovery markers begin improving, but recovery alone cannot win the World Cup. The next battle takes place in the kitchen. Forget celebrity diets, forget internet trends. Every meal now serves a precise purpose: lean protein to preserve muscle, complex carbohydrates to maintain energy without unnecessary inflammation, colourful vegetables rich in antioxidants to speed recovery, healthy fats supporting hormonal balance, hydration measured almost as carefully as training itself. There are no cheat days, no shortcuts, no meals chosen simply because they taste good. Food becomes fuel. Every bite is another investment toward lifting the trophy one final time. Then comes the part almost nobody sees: movement. The Messi who dominated defenders at 24 cannot exist anymore. Trying to outrun 22-year-old defenders would be a losing battle before the tournament even begins. So instead of becoming faster, he becomes smarter. Movement specialists analyze every sprint from his previous World Cups. Artificial intelligence compares thousands of actions, identifying moments where 2 unnecessary steps can become 1. Sports biomechanists adjust running mechanics by fractions of a second. Physiotherapists strengthen stabilizing muscles around his hips, knees, and ankles, reducing the risk of injury while improving efficiency. The goal is surprisingly simple: run less, arrive earlier. The football world often celebrates spectacular dribbles. Messi begins celebrating something entirely different: energy saved. Every unnecessary movement removed today becomes 1 extra sprint available during the 90th minute of a World Cup final. Then training changes once again. The football disappears. For nearly an hour each day, Messi performs exercises that barely resemble football at all. Reaction lights flash unpredictably across the room. Moving targets force instant decisions. Balance platforms challenge every stabilizing muscle. Virtual reality simulations recreate pressure situations from previous World Cups, demanding split-second choices under enormous psychological stress. Researchers have spent years discovering that elite decision-making can be trained almost like physical strength. Messi embraces every experiment. Because he no longer needs to become more talented, he needs to think faster than everyone else. Soon, another transformation begins: video analysis. Most footballers watch matches. Messi studies them. Every possible opponent is broken into hundreds of individual clips: defensive lines, pressing triggers, body positioning, goalkeeper habits, passing lanes. Even the smallest unconscious movements become valuable information. He watches until patterns begin appearing naturally. One defender always shifts his weight to the left before tackling. Another goalkeeper consistently takes 1 small step forward during penalties. One midfielder struggles when forced onto his weaker foot. Tiny details, invisible to most people, potentially decisive on football's biggest stage. Meanwhile, physical training becomes increasingly unusual. Instead of endless running, sessions focus on explosive acceleration over 5 meters. Instead of maximum intensity every day, coaches carefully alternate workload and recovery, protecting muscles that have already endured more than 2 decades of elite competition. Every session ends before exhaustion becomes dangerous. The objective is not to survive training. The objective is to arrive in perfect condition exactly 180 days later. Slowly, almost without anyone noticing, something extraordinary begins happening. The numbers improve. Sprint efficiency rises. Recovery becomes faster. Decision-making sharpens. Body fat decreases. Explosive power returns. Journalists eventually notice brief clips emerging from closed training sessions. Messi looks different. Not younger, sharper, lighter, more focused. Speculation spreads rapidly across football. Some believe retirement has somehow motivated him. Others insist this is simply another publicity campaign. Very few understand what is truly unfolding. This is not preparation for another season. It is preparation for one final masterpiece. But just as confidence begins growing inside the camp, reality delivers a brutal reminder. The human body has limits that no amount of discipline can erase. And with less than 90 days remaining before the World Cup, those limits are about to be tested like never before. With fewer than 90 days remaining, the mission reaches its most dangerous phase. Every athlete eventually discovers that there is one opponent who cannot be dribbled, outpaced, or outsmarted forever: the human body. One morning, during what appears to be an ordinary training session, Messi suddenly stops after a short acceleration. He doesn't fall. He doesn't grimace dramatically. He simply places both hands on his knees and closes his eyes for a few seconds. The training ground becomes silent. Doctors rush toward him, but Messi waves them away. He already knows what they are thinking. At 39, every muscle is a question mark. Every sprint carries risk. Every recovery session matters more than the training itself. Medical scans reveal nothing catastrophic, only fatigue. The natural consequence of pushing an aging body toward levels most athletes never attempt to reach. But for the first time since the mission began, doubt quietly enters the room. What if discipline isn't enough? What if time always wins? The following weeks change everything. Instead of increasing the workload, Messi does something that surprises even his own coaching staff. He trains less. Not because he is giving up, because he finally understands something only the greatest athletes ever learn. Champions are not built by doing more, they are built by doing exactly what is necessary, and nothing more. Recovery becomes the priority. Ice baths, contrast therapy, daily physiotherapy, mobility sessions lasting longer than shooting drills, controlled breathing exercises to lower stress hormones, meditation before sleep. Even afternoon naps become scheduled with military precision. The objective is no longer to create a stronger footballer. It is to preserve the perfect version that already exists. Meanwhile, another transformation takes place. Messi changes the way he thinks about football itself. Years earlier, he could receive the ball 40 times in dangerous positions and create chaos through constant movement. That version of Messi terrified defenders with acceleration. Now, he terrifies them with anticipation. Training matches begin revealing something remarkable. He is touching the ball less than anyone expected, yet every touch seems decisive. Instead of chasing the game, he allows the game to come toward him. Every movement has intention. Every pass creates space. Every pause forces defenders into mistakes they don't even realize they are making. The younger players around him begin noticing the difference. It's like he already knows what everyone else will do 5 seconds before it happens, one teammate quietly says after training. Perhaps he does. Because while younger players spend thousands of hours improving their bodies, Messi has spent more than 25 years collecting football memories. Every defensive system, every tactical adjustment, every mistake, every impossible solution. Experience has become his greatest physical advantage. Then comes the tournament. The cameras immediately focus on Messi as Argentina walk onto the pitch for their opening match. Commentators wonder whether this will finally be the World Cup where age catches him. For 70 minutes they believe they are right. Messi barely sprints, he rarely dribbles, he almost disappears from the game. Social media begins asking the same question. Is he finished? Then, in the 71st minute, everything changes. One perfectly timed movement between the lines, one first touch, one pass that slices through an entire defense. Goal. The stadium erupts, not because Messi scored, because he reminded the world that football has never been about running the most. It has always been about seeing what nobody else can see. As Argentina advance through the tournament, the pattern repeats itself. Messi never dominates matches in the way he once did. He controls them. His influence becomes almost invisible. A shoulder movement that opens space. A slow walk that pulls defenders out of position. A glance that sends a teammate running into the perfect channel. Statistics struggle to explain what millions of viewers instinctively understand. He is conducting football rather than playing it. The quarter-final becomes the first true test. Argentina trail with only 12 minutes remaining. The stadium grows restless. Opponents begin celebrating every clearance, convinced they have survived Messi's final masterpiece. Then Argentina win a free kick 30 meters from goal. Everyone expects a shot. Messi sees something different. As the defensive wall jumps, he gently chips the ball into an area nobody else had even noticed. A teammate arrives at full speed. Goal. The stadium falls silent before exploding into celebration. It isn't just another assist. It is proof that football intelligence can sometimes defeat physical limitations. The semi-final is even harder. Extra time stretches exhausted bodies beyond their limits. Younger players begin cramping. Messi continues walking calmly across the pitch, conserving every remaining ounce of energy. Then, in the 118th minute, he finally accelerates. Only once. 5 explosive steps, a perfectly weighted through ball, another goal. Sometimes one sprint is worth more than 100. And suddenly, the impossible mission reaches its final destination, the World Cup final. The dressing room feels strangely peaceful. No motivational speeches, no shouting. The younger players keep glancing toward Messi, waiting for him to say something. Instead, he quietly begins tying his boots. Only after several minutes does he finally look around the room. "When we walk out there," he says softly, "don't think about history. Don't think about pressure. Play the football that brought us here." Nothing more, nothing less. As the players emerge from the tunnel, 80,000 supporters rise to their feet. Some know they may be witnessing the final match of the greatest player of all time. Others simply want to see one last miracle. For 90 minutes, football becomes pure tension. The score remains level deep into the second half. Every touch feels heavier than the last. Then, with just 7 minutes remaining, Argentina launch one final attack. Messi receives the ball near the halfway line. Years ago, he would have tried to dribble 3 defenders. Not today. One touch, a quick turn, a perfectly timed pass splitting the defense. He continues his run. The return pass arrives exactly where he expected it. For one brief second, the stadium becomes silent. Messi strikes the ball low toward the far corner. The goalkeeper stretches. Too late. The net ripples. The roar can be heard far beyond the stadium walls. Argentina lead. The final minutes feel endless. Every clearance is celebrated like a goal. Every tackle pushes the dream one step closer. Then the referee raises the whistle. One final blast echoes through the stadium. Argentina are world champions. Messi falls onto the grass, not from exhaustion, but from relief. The mission is complete. As teammates surround him, the World Cup trophy is placed into his hands once again. This time, the celebration feels different. There are no tears of disbelief, only quiet gratitude. Because the greatest victory was never over the opponent standing across the pitch. It was over doubt, over fear, over time itself. Months later, documentaries attempt to explain how it happened. Scientists analyze his preparation. Coaches study his routines. Young footballers copy his training methods, believing they have discovered the secret. But they all miss the most important lesson. The real difference was never the diet. Never the recovery sessions. Never the technology. It was the decision, made on a silent morning, when the world believed the story had already ended. Great players inspire generations. Legends rewrite history. But only the rarest champions prove that even time can be challenged by purpose, discipline, and an unbreakable belief in one last impossible dream.